there are some scenarios that you can imagine. We know that in the next 20 years, there will be large earthquakes. We live in an earthquake zone. The Himalayas are extremely uncertain. This is not a black swan. If you hang around long enough, there will be a gigantic earthquake somewhere in the northeast, and it will. So to have sensible building codes in the northeast doesn't require you to have any great genius to know. Similarly, you know that there will be phases where we can predict, for example, that at some phase in 25 years from now, we will rapidly begin to age. It's already true. We are having far fewer children. So there are many things that are sort of predictable, even in a VUCA world. Even if you don't know exactly when it will happen, you have a rough idea when it will happen. So those I would consider as risks, not uncertainty. We can prepare for many of them by creating, and in fact in many cases, much of what you need to do for preparing for them is basically creating buffers and some simple things up front, provide you most of the benefit of the, so you can have an 80-20 rule in this. 80% of what you will benefit at that when these things happen is by doing 20% things up front of some sort. As I said, simply having some earthquake-proof building codes up front will save you 80% of the problem when that earthquake happens, which almost certainly will happen. Meanwhile, create systems that are able to deal with, flexible systems that are able to deal with change. This is very, very important. Whether your administrative system or your policy response or other things must be flexible to change. Moment you begin to think that, oh, we have got the perfect policy, the perfect something. Perfection is the biggest enemy of responsiveness. The idea that you have already solved a perfect, everything is a trade-off. In fact, how many of you have heard of Conor McGregor? Yeah, Conor McGregor, MMA, one of the greatest fighters of all time. So what does he say? Precision beats power, timing beats speed, right? So there's no need to put huge amounts of resources up front. No. It's sometimes worthwhile to be able to respond quickly to a evolving situation, and creating systems that are flexible to deal with it is far more valuable than be able to predict exactly what will happen. So that is why, as I said, this government believes it in enough that we actually shut down the Planning Commission. Because the mental psychology of that institution was in the wrong zone. Because it thought we will create these series of 5-year plans. What does it mean? If you go back and look at the plan, the whole idea is the economy is a gigantic fixed machine. And we can build another machine or fix the machine or grow the machine in a very standardized sort of way. The same problem is why Indian cities never have so badly planned. Because we use something called master plans. And the master plans always fail because the cities always evolve in ways that you cannot predict. So I'm 100% sure that if we go to Gurgaon, I don't know Sonepat well enough, we go to Gurgaon, it has a master plan. It's a 30-year-old master plan, and in that, even today, half of the city is flat. So 30 years ago, when Gurgaon started down its journey of developing, it was envisaged at that time, and I'm almost sure it is still in the master plan, as a retirement home for Delhi's civil servants. Right? That's why DLF 1, 2, 3 were developed. Then when all the BPO industries, etc. began to build these large buildings, initially they were all illegal. I think technically they are probably still illegal. So all of progress in Gurgaon has happened in spite of planning, not because of it. So why am I making this point? I'm making this point because there is a difference between planning and managing change. And if your plans are rigid, like India's urban master plans, then they will always fail. Because there is no way 30 years ago somebody would have planned. So that, I happen to be in a high-powered committee on Indian urbanization, and I regularly go to these meetings where some well-known planner will say, we have done a study of all the economic activities in this area and we have master planned it and we are going to develop it using this strategy. I said, how do you know what is the future industries that are going to come? And if you do know, why you're wasting your time in this meeting? Go and invest in it, become Elon Musk. So, this is the thing. I have no way of knowing whether this building you have, Rishihood University, in 30 years' time will be a university. Maybe universities will cease to exist. Who knows? So you have to allow all this thing to evolve. There is a logistics center right next door. Maybe that is the future. Everybody will be in a logistics center. I have no idea. Maybe the logistics center will evolve into a factory for drones. Maybe that's what the future of Sonepat is. The ability to be able to manage these changes and allow for these changes to happen as they happen without the system breaking down is the game. Yes, there's another gentleman, then I'll come to this side. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. This is Kushal from MBA. So my question is, you are saying that some sectors are becoming privatized, like for example Air India. Let us say, for example, if IRCTC also gets privatized, but what do you think, regarding the normal rates and prices might increase because privatization might be like the firms will be working on maximizing the profit irrespective of the standards. So what do you think will happen in the future of for the people and the normal citizens who are traveling?
So most important thing to realize is that privatization should be in continuation with creating competition. Right, if you go back and look at prices of traveling in the airline industry, since we are talking about Air India, as we opened up the airline industry, actually prices of traveling have gone down. Today you can travel around in Indigo at prices you could not have imagined 30 years ago. And if you allow for inflation, it has become much, much cheaper. So in fact, the public sector is a guaranteed way of ensuring that prices will remain up, not down, and that not only quality but so in fact, contrary to what you are saying, public sector is one way of ensuring high prices. The way to reduce prices is actually to open it to competition. And it is true that the public sector maximizes profits. The private sector maximizes profits, but the public sector usually maximizes corruption. Take Air India into account. Ran up 70,000 crores worth of debts. Where did it go? Ultimately, there's no free lunch. You paid for it as a taxpayer.